Hello, everybody, and welcome to Birdwatch. Substituting for your host this week will be I, Lithium Battery. Unfortunately, Techno was called away to help out a cruise liner full of beautiful women. We don't know when he'll be back, but I'm sure that he's doing everything that he can.
My hero.
Man, he's just lagging.
What a legend.
What a legend. All right, today we have Jude,
Hey, I'm Jude.
Mustard,
Sup, internet.
Phantom,
Mashallah.
and Specs.
Hello, everybody.
Alright, so opening this up, we're going to continue with our regular segment talking about what games we have been playing recently. Jude, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, sure. With all the recent talks of Geno, I decided to finally get around to playing Super Mario RPG.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I've been really enjoying it. I love the characters. I love the soundtrack. There's so much personality. Even Mario is chock full of personality in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Every bit
Yeah.
about it is great. I love the frog.
Oh yeah, Mallow's great. Wink.
Yeah, I recently just met Geno. I don't know much about him yet, but I'm really into his design. I
Should-
really enjoy like the timing mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't great at them at first, but I feel like I've gotten them down and they're just really fun time.
Yeah, they feel off at first, but they're really easy to pick up on and enjoy.
You know how good
Even
it feels to
then-
land like a Geno whirl? That shit's great.
Oh yeah, it felt great. But like it didn't even feel off to me. It was just I kept not knowing how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize I was supposed to wait for like the first strike with Mario's hammer and then press it again. I kept trying to press it right before the first strike, and it kept messing it up.
Oh no, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I understand completely. Once you get the timing down, though, it's basically ingrained into your body, and then you've got it for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I plan on finishing that, and whenever I finish that, I plan to get back into Tales of Vesperia, like I mentioned last time, because I kind of took a break from it.
Hey,
But
very
as soon as
exciting.
I get through this game, I plan on getting through Mario RPG.
I don't know if I
Okay,
should
yeah.
be embarrassed in this statement, but the closest to the kind of combat you're talking about I've ever played in RPG is Sonic and the Dark Chronicles.
Let's go!
It's
RPG on the DS?
actually, it's called Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood.
Specs don't pop off to that.
All right, buddy. All right, buddy. Look, it's been actual decades since I've played that game.
No, yeah, me too. It was
It's a
not
banger
very good
game.
Actually an
Good game.
ancient game. But yeah, I wanted to get around to Super Mario RPG. Like that's the one that's kind of interested me the most. Honestly, more than like Thousand Year Door. I haven't the only only Paper Mario game I've played is Sticker Star. I know, crucify me. But
Yeah.
but like they haven't like well, probably because I started with Sticker Star. I'm not really attached to the series, but something about RPG makes me like that's something I want to get into sometime.
RPG, I can say, is actually good.
Mhm.
As far as what I've been playing, I actually just finished the first Paper Mario on the N64,
Mhm.
and I can tell you that I really was not into it all that much. I thought it was really boring, honestly, and there is
Gosh.
so much backtracking. There's so much backtracking, dude. I really hated it. I thought the story was bland. I thought the characters were boring, and they don't really do much of anything over the course of the game. And the music is just straight up bad. Like,
Which is strange for a Mario game.
yeah, for a Mario game. I don't know. I really hope that Thousand Year Door lives up to the hype, because Paper Mario really did not do much of anything for me, and I feel like it's just a huge step back from Mario RPG in terms of how, like, not only fun, but how well paced it is, and the characters, and how well written they are, and everything. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like Super Mario RPG is this, like, well written epic or anything like that, but they at least
Yeah.
try. Paper Mario doesn't really try with its characters. It doesn't do
J.K.
anything to make
Rowling's
them...
next masterpiece.
There you go. It doesn't do anything to make its characters memorable. In fact, your characters don't really do anything once you like after you initially meet them. They don't do much of anything at all over the course of the story, and it's just
Yeah.
boring.
I think the
Yeah.
only one I remember from Paper Mario was like the Spark one, like the Spark Baby one.
Yeah. The
I just think it looked silly.
It is silly, but you meet it, and like I said, again, it doesn't do anything. But There's one exception, and this is my favorite party member of the whole game. Bo, the ghost.
Oh yeah.
She is my wife. I loved her.
She bitch slapped.
And that's only because, unlike the rest of the party members in the game, she actually does something during the chapter that she's introduced in. Now, after that chapter, she does absolutely nothing like the rest of the cast, but like over the course of that chapter that she's introduced in, she is an active part of the story who's commenting on what's going on, and that is what I at least expected from everyone else, and nobody else does that. Everyone else is just dead silent and does nothing.
It reminds me of the one puzzle with the pink bomb where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you have to remember what symbol they use at the end of their text, but they never fucking talk at all.
Exactly.
So how are you supposed to fucking remember that?
Exactly. I guessed that by pure luck.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't really a hard puzzle, but how were you supposed to get that? These guys never fucking speak.
I literally never heard her speak from chapter 1 was when I think I met her.
Yeah, and that's the start of the game, and it's a decently sized game.
It is. It was like a 20-hour long game. It's honestly left me
Jesus.
very exhausted, and I don't know when I'll get to Thousand Year Door. But yeah, I don't recommend the first Paper Mario. I'd recommend you either play Mario RPG or Thousand Year Door if it's as good as everyone and their mother says it is.
Oh no.
So deeply revered. And
Uh-oh.
robot.
All right,
Yeah.
hang on. We're gonna put a pause here, and we'll have to edit this later. But Mustard, your internet is crashing right now.
Mustard, no.
I can't believe Mustard has the worst internet.
It's rough.
Mustard.
There's worse internet out there. Yeah, we'll definitely have to edit this out later.
Can you
Yeah.
hear anything like in the background? Because there's a cicada nearby, and I don't know if you guys can hear that.
I can hear it.
I can hear it when you
That's
talk,
fine.
but it's honestly not a big issue. In fact, it kind of
buddy.
sounds like fuzz, so it's not a big deal at all.
Hi, Mustard.
Okay, I think you're back
I
now.
don't know what happened there. I had 5,000 ping and I just got kicked off Discord for like a
It's
solid
alright.
5 seconds.
Yeah, it's okay. We
Well-
will edit this out. Don't worry.
Yo, the power of post production.
Hell yeah,
Exactly.
it always wins.
Just make one of those things they put on TV with all the colored bars that says we're having technical issues.
We'll be right back.
Okay, well, yeah, well, I guess back to the point I was going to mention.
Mhm.
I wonder why it's so deeply revered as it is. Like, is it just nostalgia glasses, nostalgia tint?
Well,
Or 'cause-
here's the thing. Before I actually played the first one, the games I heard about the most was Thousand Year Door and Super Paper Mario, and I barely heard anything about the first one other than it plays like Thousand Year Door. So I honestly didn't really know what to expect, and now I see why hardly anyone talks about the first one, because it's just not worth talking about, honestly.
But yeah, but it's not talked about negatively either. Like,
Yeah.
because if it's as bad as, I've never played this game for context. If it's as bad as you're saying this is, why are people not talking about it more? I'm not discrediting your opinion.
I honestly,
Well,
I think it's generally thought of as a decent enough game,
Yeah, like I
and
wouldn't
Liz
say
is
the
just
game
an
is
outsider
bad.
in that regard.
Yeah, like the game itself is not necessarily bad, but there is not a lot there to keep you invested, and I only really finished it for the sake of finishing it. It's just very bland and pretty boring. It's not bad, it's not a poorly put together game, but you don't get a whole lot out of it either. It's just not really worth playing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Alright.
everything you've said about it has made me want to jump straight into Thousand Year Door because I honestly do not care about Mario RPG.
Yeah.
I
That's-
honestly think you should reconsider.
Maybe, just not soon.
Not soon, that's fair, but I think Mario RPG is a game that people should try at least once in their lives, and I think it's very worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know,
really
the
don't
art's...
care.
Yeah,
like-
I'm definitely gonna add it.
I really don't care about Paper Mario.
All right.
I only played Sticker Star, and like I enjoyed it for what
Oh,
it was.
yo!
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Star Gang.
Oh,
I
God.
enjoyed it for what it was, and that's about it. I
Yeah.
don't get why
didn't-
people don't like it.
I didn't think it was great. I didn't think it was terrible either. But I mean, I also was not very do thinking about games critically. To an extent, I still don't entirely. But I don't know.
I was
Anyway.
hoping playing more games, watching more movies, watching more TV shows would help me develop a critical sense.
Well, has it?
I don't know. You tell me.
uh, you're doing great. Keep up the great work.
I
Thank you,
think it
Mustard.
has for me. It's just a matter of experience. That's all.
Yeah.
And also trying to write about them, because if you don't, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that too. That too. Exactly.
All right. So games I've been playing. So okay. So this is a tough one for me. I know no one here has played this game, but I've been living through the Outer Wilds. Not the Outer Worlds. The people made by the same dudes who made the Fallout games.
I confused it with that one.
Not the
I
Outer
do it
Worlds,
literally every time.
Wait,
but
they're
the
different
Outer
games?
Wilds.
Yeah, they're different
Oh,
games.
here we go again. Yeah. So the Outer Wilds is a indie game completely separated from Outer Wilds. Outer Wilds is the Fallout one.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
made by the people who made
Uh-huh.
Fallout New Vegas. Outer
They-
Okay.
Worlds. Outer
The,
Worlds
yeah,
was that.
they both happen to be space games, and they both have a similar name, and feel bad for the guys. Anyway, I have been in love with this game, like more so than I think any other game I've played for years. By far one of the best video games and just experiences as a whole I've ever had the pleasure of going through. But what's so tragic about this is that I can't talk about it because the game you learn through knowledge.
Yeah?
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and even talking about the game takes away from someone who hasn't played that game going into it. It's the kind of game the best way to experience it is to go in blind. If you don't, your experience is neutered, and I mean it literally. So
Literally.
literally, you
Whoa.
will literally be neutered playing this game
Oh.
knowing about it. Yeah.
Oh.
All right,
Will
now
the
I'll keep that
dads
in
just
mind.
come to your house?
No, it forces you to do it yourself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you the chemicals.
So to save you guys the
Chemicals.
tragedy,
You use chemicals?
I won't talk about why the game is great, but I will just say, if you're listening to this, play this game. Do yourself a favor and play this game.
Port it to Switch.
I plan to play it. I actually literally just bought it because I was enticed by you and our
And
mutual
Oprah.
friend discussing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I won't end this by just saying play a game you know nothing about. So I will go into another game that I've been playing besides that. The Return of the Obra Dinn.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what that is.
Yeah. So I've been a bit. This game has been great so far. I feel like it's probably one of the best.
The best.
Damn it.
Yo.
I think he's gone again.
God damn it.
God.
Okay,
fucking
that's
Damn it.
the joke actually would work there.
Yeah, you can leave this.
We can keep this.
Yeah, we'll keep this going.
Might
I'm
keep
so
this
mad
one
about that.
too.
Mustard?
My.
Oh man.
Oh, there's gonna be a little bit of there's gonna be a lot more post production in this than I thought, huh?
No. We'll keep this one.
Yeah, but
Just
What did I do?
This
I'm
robotic
talking about
please
video
for
games.
help.
Huh?
whoa.
Like one of the best style games out there.
We
Oh,
we
of
aren't
course.
laughing at you, dude. You're gonna have to repeat literally everything because you died again.
Oh, no one. Okay, I thought I said something so incredibly dumb, stupid, and offensive that I just.
Like
You're still dying.
Your last words were the best, and then you went dead silent.
I
And
thought
then
that was the end of the
a little
sentence.
bit back. Like a little bit after the fact, you just came in and started making robot noises again, and it was so
You're gonna-
funny.
We should upload once raw and once edited just so you can.
I agree.
Maybe
God damn it.
Techno is here.
Maybe
Yeah,
In
He's
spirit.
definitely here in spirit. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So while my ping is looking good, all right. So one of the best detective style games out there. You are literally an insurance claimer. You literally you go on the boat to to try to see how much money you can get from it. Oh, my ping is going down. All right, I'm dying, guys. I gotta make this quick.
Quick.
Basically, it's a game where you have to solve the deaths of and you have to solve what happened to every single passenger on the boat.
Oh, okay.
It's a but where you learn about this from you can travel back in time to the exact point each person died in the game. If if you
Right.
find their corpse either in real life or in the memories, you can travel back to the point to which that specific person died, and it's just a still of the area.
You
That
know,
And you have to
exact
try
point.
and piece together how they died through
You
the
have to
area and
piece
stuff.
together how they died, who everyone is,
That's fucking sick.
the
people around it, and you have this information like you have a list of all the crew and passengers. You have a list of their names, what their jobs were, but you don't have faces. You don't
That's
know
so
who anyone
cool.
is, so you have to piece together who people are and how they died through context clues of like maybe okay, so this one dude died, and you have to learn who he is, so you have to go to other memories in which he appears in other people's deaths and see like maybe what kind of clothes is he wearing, who is he around, what is he doing, what has he done in this chain of memories, in this chain of events. And that's how you just learn about the fascinating story progress as you learn more about what's going on. And it's incredible. It's one of the it's not a game where you unlock things. Like
Right.
you pro you pro the closest thing to that is you progress
You-
based on how many memories you find. So you like, for instance, there's multiple layers of the ship, and to go, the doors aren't open normally, but to go, you have to find a memory in which those doors and hatchways are open, and that's how you can go down.
Does it
Through the
require
Dude.
a lot of critical thinking, or is
Oh
this
yes, it is a
okay?
thinking.
It's
It is
not a
a thinking game.
straightforward story-based game. It's
It's
you actually have to figure this out for yourself.
Yes, like, and you have to think critically and even like make guesses sometimes. Sometimes you don't have the info to find who this person is, but you just have to use what you have and make guesses. Uh yeah, I might have gone on for too long,
That's
but
fine.
it's so satisfying due to how immersive it is, because you're not super freaking Mario jumping 20 feet in the air on bad guys, or like Master Chief gunning through hordes of enemies, or
Yeah, no, it's
slaying
different.
through hell. Like, you are using you theoretically you can do everything and are doing everything that the character in that game is doing. You're
Wow.
just thinking using your head. So it's incredibly immersive in that way, and it feels like when you solve things, it's so rewarding because you did that using your skills, not like with the power ups you got in a game, but like your thinking, your critical thinking brought you this progress, and it's great. Uh,
I
that's
think that's the beauty of indie games.
mhm.
It's just you creative experiences like that just don't come from AAA studios, at least not anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
what you
Oh,
were
it's
the game
it's
sounds pretty interesting. First of all, I might get around to it someday.
Me too.
Second of all, what you were talking about reminds me of this feature in Arkham Origins. I
I was
think they
gonna
brought it
mention
back in
that.
Arkham
Yeah,
Knight.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
what
where you can
the
go
detective mode?
back and
Yeah.
forwards in the scene of the crime,
Yeah.
and you can.
Piece it
Oh, I
It's
together.
remember that.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like that, cause like the easy part is seeing how this person died, because you're literally at the point of their death, so you can like see if he got shot or stabbed or broke his neck or
Overdose.
fell overboard,
Right, right.
or even if they survived. Like, maybe you saw them leave a boat, so you check the map in your book to see where the boat was at a certain time and find the nearest island, and that's probably where they went.
Mm-hmm.
It's stuff like that. Yeah, I feel like I've gone on a bit too long, but yeah, you don't. everything from the premise, the aesthetic style, harking back to like the really old like almost like a Game Boy-esque display where it's with
It's like
darks
it's
being
black and white, right?
black and white with green tint.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So as it goes down, it gets greener. Uh,
That's
Cool.
it's it's everything. It's an incredible, unique experience that you won't find anywhere else, and I highly recommend to play. Yeah.
I will definitely give it a shot in the future. I believe it's on my backlog and my Steam wish list.
As it should.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Phantom, give us the rundown.
Go
What
for
you've
it.
been playing? We know what you've been playing, but what have you been playing?
Metopia.
You've thrown me
Yes,
for a loop. How could
as
you?
we know.
Yeah,
Well,
I knew that.
Well, I've been playing Utopia for like a year now, and I'm only now getting to the end because I'm slow and RPGs are long. Even Metopia.
Yeah.
I don't.
But more
Yeah.
notably, since about mid-June, I played Doom 2016, which and that drew my attention to the older Dooms, and I ended up really enjoying them as well.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
And currently, I'm done with Doom 1, Doom 2, and midway through Doom 64, and probably near the end of 2016. They're pretty fun games. They have a simple premise.
Mhm.
They just throw you in there and you shoot everything that moves.
Yeah.
A premise as old as time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't complain.
Mm-hmm.
I got into
It's surprising how much they hold up. Like
Yeah.
to this day.
Absolutely.
Mm.
I got into the games like May of last year, and like yeah, I started with Doom 1, and then I realized, wow, this actually is still fun 20 odd years later, and went on to Doom 2, and then Doom 2016, which initially became like one of my favorite my favorite FPS at the time, and then Eternal came out this year. God, I was so hyped for that, and it delivered, and yeah, I've just been a huge fan ever since. I still need to play Doom 64.
And Doom 3.
No,
And
I'm not
Doom
gonna.
3?
Well, I don't know. I don't.
Come on.
I have so
Give it a
little
chance.
interest in Doom 3. I know Doom 3 is not necessarily a bad game, but it's like I would rather
City
play.
likes this. He just said it's.
I would rather play Half-Life 2, and that's what it looks like. It looks like Half-Life 2, but not as good.
I want to play Half-Life 2. Both of them.
I need to play the other Half-Lives first. I'm just not
I
interested
wouldn't
in it.
say they're very comparable. Half-Life games are great. You should definitely play. I played through them like a few months ago.
I'm
Definitely
making it a
recommend.
point
So
to play
good.
them next year.
But I would not say they're comparable. Half-Life definitely has its horror moments, but Doom 3 is like a horror game through and through, and
Oh.
it's built on being a horror game. And I watched a playthrough of it, and I was like, it does a lot of good stuff with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not Doom, and I understand why people are mad about it because of that. But like, it may be a bad Doom game, but it's not a bad game.
Like, I'm not disrespecting it. Like, I'm not saying it is a bad game because it's not what Doom should be, but I am saying that because it's not what Doom should be, I am far less interested in it as a result.
Which is fine and understandable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even generally play horror games. I have very few on my interest list. Like this GameCube game, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem.
I need to play that.
I've heard about that. I want to play that.
What a mouthful.
And the only reason I would play Doom 3 is because it has the Doom name.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
because I actually care about it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Specs, how about you? What have you been playing?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So, recently, like, I think, yeah, it was a couple weeks ago, I started Persona 4 Golden. And oh my goodness, what a good game.
Yeah.
Such a masterpiece of a game. And like I've been hooked on the characters, so I played the other two spin-offs and I love them just as much.
Hell yeah.
It's
I've
just-
only ever played vanilla Persona 4. So I'm very excited to try Golden when I do get to it. I don't know when I'm gonna get to it because I have so many other games that I want to play beforehand, but I'm so happy it's on PC, dude. I've wanted to play this for literally years.
Yeah, and like the thing is about like the vanilla Persona 4,
Mhm.
Persona 4 Golden like touches up on so much voice acting.
Yeah,
and
it does.
it's so good.
Mm-hmm. It adds so much content to it, and I'm so excited to get around to playing that. Man.
Persona 4 has just been one of my all-time favorite games this year, and like, I gotta start Persona 3 soon because I heard that one's even better, and I'm really excited about that.
In my opinion, it is. There's some debate over that, but Persona 3 is one of the only video games that has ever made me cry. So when I put that into perspective, I do think that Persona 3 is a stronger game for numerous reasons, but Persona 4 is still definitely a fantastic experience, and I highly recommend it.
I honestly kind of wanted to play Persona, but they don't really look like my type of game.
It might not be. If you're big on long form RPGs, then yeah, it might not be.
I don't even play many RPGs, but if I play them, I don't know if Persona would be one.
I mean, fine. Yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm. Different strokes for different folks. That's all.
Only long form RPG I've ever played is Pokemon, and I'm 100% sure that does not count. So yeah, I don't know.
Resist the urge.
I'm trying,
Resist the urge.
I'm trying.
I've had the RPGs. I don't feel like they're my kind. I don't know. I haven't really played like a really good RPG through and through. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a lot of understanding for the genre and just experience and appreciation. Like I know they're good games, but it's just like I don't know. They're time. They're time consuming.
They are time consuming.
I don't know.
Like Pokemon, it just holds your hand too much. Mm-hmm. Like I hardly consider it an RPG because like some RPGs just kind of throw you in the game. We're like, all right, here's God.
Mm-hmm. Yo.
Yeah, but I mean, that's really the only game that I've completed. The only games I've finished that could be comparable to RPGs. I don't know. I mean, Sonic Dark Brotherhood, maybe.
Good game.
Yeah.
Good game. Been.
I love the music.
Too long.
Yeah, godlike music.
Godlike music.
I love the speed sections. So good.
Turn-based RPGs that I recommend everyone start out with before they say whether or not the genre is really for them. I always recommend either Chrono Trigger or Super Mario RPG. I would give one or both of those games a shot at some point in your life, and then hey, if
I still gotta try Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. If you find that you like it, then yeah, explore the genre a bit more.
Yeah, I have
and they're both relatively short too.
I have a list here I can run quickly. I wanted to play Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, Paper Mario, and Thousand Year Door, or at least Thousand Year Door, as was discussed. Final Fantasy VI, Undertale, Super Paper Mario, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, Mother 3 because First Bound looked boring, Child of Light, Final Fantasy V, and maybe a Fire Emblem game.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent list.
Yeah, I actually did play through a bit of Chrono Trigger, and I really enjoyed my time with it. So I only got to the second world. It was on my old computer, and when I built my new one and moved everything over, that didn't get included. So my save file is gone, and I'm at that uncomfortable distance where like I in the grand scheme of the game, I didn't make super meaningful progress, but at the same time, it's a lot to do again. It's like a couple hours worth of getting back to where I was. So I'd be willing to. I don't know. If
you need to,
the first
time
over, fine.
Then yeah, just give it some more time until you're ready for a fresh start.
Yeah, I might just do that. I mean, unless I could get like maybe a save file or something of around that point, maybe I'd feel more comfortable picking it back up again. But like, I don't know. I don't really feel like I'd enjoy playing through the same like 4-hour section again and fighting that freaking dragon boss, which I despised.
The dragon.
The dragon robot at the prison.
That wasn't even very hard. I'm sorry.
I don't play RPGs, bro.
I'm sorry.
What do you want me to say? I'm
bad. Get good.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. Yeah, especially if you're new to it. It's
So Summer of Games Phase 1. Crazy
okay,
thing,
okay,
huh?
okay, all right.
Completely forgot.
Yo,
Yeah.
what a transition.
Yeah, hell of a transition. But yeah, anyways, the season's coming to a close. As of recording this, it is a couple of days before September, and the Summer of Games is also more or less drawing to a close. Now, the Summer of Games, it was this basically event that Jeff Keighley, the guy that was in charge of the Game Awards, threw together, and I want to emphasize threw together as a replacement for E3, more or less, because all those conferences and stuff that was supposed to happen were shut down due to ongoing world events. So, as we come to a close over the course of the summer, we wanted to just talk about how the Summer of Games has been, how it's been handled, and if there has been anything else that has been announced since the last time we talked about games that had been revealed a couple of podcasts ago that have caught our interest. So go ahead and down the line again. Jude, do you have anything you want to say about it?
Yeah, so I guess judging by the fact that there was only one game that was revealed that I care about throughout the entire summer, there was only one game I cared about in the slightest, which was Unfortunate Spaceman. Kind of shares my thoughts on the entire thing. For the
Yeah.
most part, really disappointing, unorganized, just in general.
Yeah.
I just didn't enjoy most of what was announced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely do not like this format at all. The best thing about E3, and we talked about this a little bit before when we talked about whether or not E3 should come back, but the best thing about E3 is that all of the information is condensed together over the course of a few days. And keeping up with all of these just random ass dates is so annoying, and it's ultimately not worth the effort.
And one the thing about E3, so not only was everything at once, but like that was the time that developers and companies planned to put their stuff on.
Yeah.
So like there was plenty of stuff to do because that's when they had the most exposure was during E3. And now it's so segmented, like there's no plans for this, so it's like everyone's off doing their own thing. So it's all over the place, hard to keep up with. It's hard to garner and sustain interest and hype. Like I think it's tough for both ends.
It
honestly.
really is. It really is. It's just it's so exhausting trying to keep up with everything, and I really do hope that whatever the future of game announcements ends up being, that it ends up being in a way more organized fashion than this, because I'm tired of turning up on dates where this big huge title will be announced and that entire day is reserved for that one title, and it ends up being a title that I don't give a shit about. It's just
Godfall?
It's so annoying.
You want to learn about Godfall?
I don't.
Oh
Dude.
my god.
I don't care about that.
That looter shooter that comes up in everyone. No, but I think Jeff Keighley, what he's doing is good. He's trying to get more order to it, and I do think that Gamescom had one of the better lineups and was paced better than PC Game Show. Ugh.
Oh god.
Like I definitely think that Gamescom was the best out of all of them. There wasn't, a whole lot. Well, a whole lot.
I don't even think I didn't watch Gamescom at all, and
It was
looking back
decent.
on it, I'm glad
it was decent. It was interesting going through. It had good production. Jeff Keighley, as you know, Jeff Keighley, can't get enough of the guy. Had some good. It had like stuff like Doom Eternal, new Call of Duty game, Little Nightmares, and some other stuff that other people interested in, like Destiny, and World of Warcraft. Just so like, I felt it was good. We'll learn. People will probably learn how to do this better as this goes
in the future. It is a sudden change that nobody expected. So of course, the first time they go about doing this, it's probably not going to turn out very well.
It's unprecedented in
Mhm.
history. There's nothing to look back on.
Yeah.
You can't look at the 1960s for game announcements.
No, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so
Plus, everyone was
yeah, like
dying.
Black Death. They
Yeah.
weren't talking about new Super Mario 2.
Mhm.
So like, there's nothing. It's new waters. So
Yeah.
it's just growing pains.
Yeah, exactly.
Yo, by 1996, we had Mario 64. I think the first one must have been a while ago.
I mean, it is, but you also have to understand that video games are relatively young as a medium. Like they have not had the lasting power that film or television has had.
And those are
So,
also kind of recent, all things considered.
yeah, exactly. Um,
Even radio.
even radio.
Jeez,
Yeah.
it's baffling to think about that.
The jump in technology early last century.
It's all incredible stuff, and it's part of the reason why I like the medium so much is because it is
It's
just
good.
new experiences and the youngest medium, so I think it's arguably one of the more interesting mediums to keep up with as a result.
You know,
I also
You go
it's just dumb really, but I kind of like the subculture too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's always a part of it, I guess.
It's a very active and interesting hobby to keep track of, be a part of, experience that it goes through. Something I was kind of thinking about was that so people dunk on how games are announced now, but like I felt like even when E3 was still going on, I feel like game announcements were weren't really great for a while anyway, like even before when like E3 was still going on, because like definitions of great, people like everyone has different tastes in games. It's so
Yeah.
broad,
Yeah.
and like so when you get an event that has to cater to so many people, like you're not going to be interested in the whole thing
Well, no,
because
of course.
so it's just so like it's just interesting to think, were they ever great or were they always just okay? I've only really started getting into like game announcements and events in the past like 3 years, 4 years. But before that, like when I was younger, I didn't have access to the internet, and I just didn't know about the kind of stuff. So I'm not as familiar with this. So I may be wrong, but were
Well,
they ever great in the first place?
as
Not
someone
really.
that's had a few years on them, I don't know about necessarily great, but I think my point is that the information all more or less comes out around the same time, as opposed to being sporadic and random like it has been with the Summer of Games. So even if you're not necessarily interested in all of what that's being revealed, you don't even have to watch the conferences. That's number one. You can just read up on what was revealed after the fact. But the key thing is that it's all revealed conveniently within the span of a couple of days. And the Summer of Games has just been random dates throughout the whole year. And
it's kind of funny. That's how movies usually operate.
yeah,
They usually just kind of drop stuff, and they're not as secretive as video games.
they're not. No.
I wonder why video games are so much different.
Well, actually, no, I take that back because there's Comic Con too, and a lot of the bigger movies and stuff get talked about a lot during Comic Con, which conveniently enough is also during the summer. So
yeah, I guess that's true.
And yeah, that's an interesting point as to why are stuff like movies so open about the product.
It's
And the
always like
development.
this has started development. It's in pre-production. Now we're recording. Now it's in post-production. Video games, it's something else.
Maybe it's something to. I find that interesting because with movies, it's because due to the fact that it's not an interactive medium, uh, you see the same product. So like I feel like it's in being so open about the product itself, and like sharing about what's about all the scene, trailers. They'll show all the good parts.
Mm.
Yeah.
I find interesting that they're so much more open, even though the experience is so much more similar for a wider audience. Like with a game, because it's interactive, you will play through a game and interpret a game differently than other people. But I might have lost my point. Is anyone picking up on what I'm talking? I'm tired, man. Gosh, never mind. What's going?
Well,
Like,
I sort of get what you're saying. But
that's rough, buddy.
Yeah.
I kind of do get what you're saying, but at the same time, it also depends on how big the feature is, because usually you're going to get the bigger franchise movies, like not even just Marvel, but stuff like James Bond or something from a big name director like Christopher Nolan. That's usually going to get a lot more press. And when it comes to smaller indie titles, or not even necessarily indie titles, but stuff from like Studio A24, who's put out stuff like Lighthouse and Hereditary, Us, Get Out, and movies like that.
Hereditary's so good.
It's so good, but besides that, yeah, they I think it's more so a way just to keep in touch with the more niche audience that those films attract, and that's why they're a bit more open. And also, the bigger studios kind of just have this down to a science at this point because the medium is older, and unless, say, a worldwide pandemic happens, they can be open and honest about how things are going for the most part, and not really have to worry about any sort of developmental issues or drawbacks.
And the big stuff nowadays is always very particular. It's always usually action or horror,
Yeah,
and it tends to be superhero.
yeah.
Wonder when that's gonna die out.
That's a good question.
Never.
But it's not for this podcast.
It's not, unfortunately. But yeah. To sum it all up, Summer of Games. If this
Not a
does
fan.
continue, I'm not a fan of how this has gone this year. If they do continue it in the future, I hope that it is a lot more organized and a lot less sporadic, so that there is a lot less to keep up with.
Yeah.
Right.
I prefer E3 by far
By
as
far.
a format.
Yeah,
Yep.
me too.
Plus, Nintendo has just died.
Dead silent. We've talked about it before. This silence hasn't really, been addressed in the slightest, and it's gotten a little bit worse. But
Hopefully, by next podcast, we have something from them.
I'm
Right.
keeping my fingers and toes crossed.
They just kind of dropped Animal Crossing early in the year and the Origami King in July.
Yeah, and they said, you know what, we're done. That's
And
fine.
we don't even. I'm still waiting for the Doom Eternal port.
Yeah.
Jesus. I kind of forgot that the games thing was happening, because I kind of watched 2 of them and I was done.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad I didn't tune
yeah.
into the last Gamescom one, because there was absolutely nothing there for me except for the Doom Eternal campaign trailer, which I saw after the fact, so I didn't need to see that
Yeah.
live.
Yeah, it wasn't that good. I wasn't a fan, like, at all. Very
All right.
forgettable.
Well, that being said, we'll go ahead and transition to our next topic. Should games be judged by the quality of their fandom?
Undertale.
Undertale is
Sonic.
the example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess other stuff like Homestuck and
Mm.
things like that.
See,
I think it's interesting.
Mhm.
Not a like, because that surface level, that sounds like, well, obviously not.
no.
Yeah, because I mean, a game and its fan are usually 2 separate things.
Mm-hmm.
You can play the game and not be exposed to the fandom,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it's fascinating how often I hear on stuff about people like Undertale, like I was interested in Undertale, but the fandom ruined it for me,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
like stuff like that, and it's like how?
Even though I've seen the memes I haven't had Undertale ruined that much as like Five Nights at Freddy's. I could play Undertale more fairly than something like Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's another great example. Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, I remember we all were kind of on the opinion that fandom is trash and the game was trash, and then Lith, you played through the first game and were blasted in the face by its quality and terror.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I kind of want to play all of them.
I
The
will
first
never
game's
play
like-
them
I don't
because
wanna play all of
I am
them,
a
but-
little
Maybe-
little
At least
baby.
one.
I am a baby, and I will never play these games by myself. Because
Well,
I hate
the-
jump scares, and that is Five Nights at Freddy.
The thing that scared me more when I was younger was the idea of being trapped into an animatronic suit and fucking dying. But now I don't care. Now I don't care as much. So the only obstacle would be the jump scares, and I get over those quickly.
Yeah.
My thoughts about the game is that I like its lore a lot. I love to keep up on it. Don't laugh.
I
know,
was,
yeah,
it was a
I-
slight
I think
chuckle.
it's interesting.
It was a slight
I-
Keep it
chuckle.
in.
I used to was like 10.
Like I'm a fan of like the story and all that. And my opinions on all the games is that the first game's the scariest, the second game's the most challenging, the third game's actual garbage, and everything after that doesn't exist.
I know it only had one animatronic, and all the others were like phantoms.
Yeah, it's baby easy. and
It's probably
very
the
boring.
easiest, yeah.
It is.
But yeah,
I haven't
why-
heard much of 4, but it looks interesting.
It's it's a good change of pace. I like the story. Like I don't like the animatronics because they're trying too hard, but
Yeah.
I like the story.
But yeah,
It
but
was
why
actually
do
better.
people- Why do
Yeah.
people get turned away from the game though? Because of the fandom being bad. Like what?
More or less. Yeah.
What?
Stories.
Why is it that people associate a game so much with its fandom? Like I
Because that's what the
understand it.
impression that they usually get is, especially through social media.
Because they're exposed to the fandom first in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And they see stuff like the OCs and the music and the
music,
all that.
The porn.
Music.
Not to mention
I'm sorry.
the
I mean-
YouTubers who played it. If you have a stigma against people screaming while playing video games, that will also fuck over your judgment.
That was like what year was Five Nights at Freddy's?
2014.
Yeah,
That was like
2014.
That was like 2014 Goat Simulator was that game.
Yeah.
That was
Jesus.
peak screen
That
day.
that was an interesting game.
Yeah, it's
mm,
I understand because personally, like I get it for stuff where the game has directly been impacted by its fandom. Not exactly a game, but I remember looking into Ruby.
Oh,
Oh
boy.
God!
I thought
Oh my
it
God!
sounded interesting, and I heard some music somewhere, and it was really good. And a lot of times I get into series and games because of the banger music.
Yes, Ruby
so
has
I
very
looked
good
into
music.
and it was fascinating to hear how the quality started great, but the fandom was so vocal, and the producers
Yeah.
implemented a lot of like fanships and stuff into the game,
Okay.
like completely bucking and upthrowing the original plot and developing plot to
Yeah,
satisfy
I can-
fan stuff, and that makes sense. I understand.
I can
that.
talk about Ruby for like and how much it was wasted potential for hours because I was a very like avid fan about it, and then it just got bad. Like the producers, Rooster Teeth, just started just going ape shit with all this non-needed stuff, and like the backlash of like racism and all that. It's just awful, and like the show doesn't deserve this. It was a really good show at first, and then like Mustard said,
I believe it.
they started adding like all these fanships because like what they would do is that there'd be two characters and they'd like build a relationship for over 5 years, and then the fans will be like no this, and then they'll implement that out of nowhere, and it's awful.
Yeah.
Like it's just so much wasted potential that was shown. They had a really good concept,
I think that
and like just the fandom's a nightmare.
That it kind of reminds me of Batman Arkham Knight, because people were clamoring so long for the Batmobile to be added to the games for some reason, and then Arkham Knight comes along and it is easily the worst aspect of the whole game because the whole thing
Um,
feels so incredibly forced throughout the
Most
whole
of
thing.
my knowledge of Arkham Knight comes from Johnny. It
Mhm.
unfortunately came out like 5 years ago, so I'm completely spoiled.
Mhm.
But the Batmobile looks kind of fun. But my understanding is that it's overused in the story
Yeah.
and the missions.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of like puzzles with it, and you
Yeah.
have to park
They're
it,
not
and
good.
yeah.
They're
You have to
not
park
good.
it. What the fuck?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
have to park it. You
Oh,
have
and
to get out
tank
of
battles.
it. You have to like
Tank battles.
remote control it to pull winches and doors open. It's so stupid.
That's a nightmare.
Yeah, it really drags the game down. But
And I heard they also got rid of the Batwing from Arkham Origins, and that's so dumb.
it is because that was a lot more convenient.
I mean, the idea of of having the Batmobile is really cool because
In
the
theory.
Batmobile is like is so connected and ingrained to the idea of Batman.
I prefer how they did it in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
How do they
I
do
don't
it
want
in
to get.
Asylum?
I don't want to get too much into the whole Batmobile thing because the main point here was just that letting fans influence whatever it is you're working on is not always the best way to go.
I think it's fine to for a game to be affected by
It's fine.
its
It
fans
is
because
fine to an
no
extent.
no game or movie or show or book is made in a vacuum.
No.
Like
Um,
it has and can and in some cases should be affected by what's happening around them,
Mhm.
and it's not inherently bad to change
Well,
stuff with
Mhm.
the fandom, but not at the integrity of your product.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to have a really strong idea of what your product is
Mhm.
and what it isn't, and what can be changed.
You gotta
For
find a
the
middle
Ruby
ground.
thing,
You gotta find a middle ground. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can make you can make fan references, but when you get to the point of destroying a very heavily developed dynamic between characters solely for a ship, completely buck that trend. That's not respecting your work.
Yeah. It's
Like
not.
Right.
that's
It's
not
not.
like you
Mhm.
don't that strong idea of what you're working on is tarnished
I
because of
agree.
that.
Mhm.
You're letting other people dictate what you make
Mhm.
and not
Yeah.
your own vision.
Mhm.
Uh,
What were
Phantom,
you?
you want to say something?
Yeah. What were we trying to say?
there's shows like sitcoms back in the 90s, and well, they still exist,
Yeah.
where depending on the audience ratings, they might keep two characters together as a couple and they might separate them. I remember reading Friends off the top of my head. Chandler and Monica, they were made a couple because the audience liked it.
Mhm.
And I think that's an interesting example to take. Since it's a
Well,
sitcom, it doesn't
for
take
other
itself too
media.
seriously.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter too much to be affected by the
By the
the
fans.
stuff.
Mm.
But if you already have something like a character arc planned, it's just gonna mess over everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just shouldn't be done at the expense of the quality.
I do think that
Right.
games are a little bit of a different beast to an extent.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For Darkest Dungeon, they actually had this system they come up with. For Darkest Darkest
I
Dungeon
love
is
that.
like
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's an RPG. It's kind of turn-based, and there is this system called the Corpse system where you can attack enemies by their position. Everybody's lined up in a row, and you can't. Certain characters can't be attacked in the front row. But if you kill an enemy in the front row, they'll leave behind a corpse. All enemies leave behind corpses, and so you
not just
actually
front
have
row,
to
but all rows.
Yeah, in all rows. So you actually have to get rid of the corpses in order to bring the enemies forward so that you can attack them. And they got so much nasty feedback from that. But they held on to their vision though. They stuck to their guns. They felt it was an appropriate thing to have in the game. And so what they did was they made it so that players could customize their game and decide whether or not they want to keep the corpse system or not. And I think that is a great way to address fans influencing your game.
That's
true. AAA devs would just get rid of it or keep it all completely.
Yeah.
But what made it so great was that they made it very clear that corpse system is an integral part of their vision of the game. That this is
Exactly.
part of the game. Same thing with Celeste. Celeste is a hard platformer game. And
Oh, I want to play
but
that.
it also has a very very like personal and well written story
Mm-hmm.
It's
with
very
very
good.
important themes that people want to play, and they want to make their game more accessible, so they give you options like slow down time, infinite jumps, infinite boosts, low gravity, stuff like that, but it makes it very clear that that doing so is not how they think the game should be played. So
Mhm.
I
it's giving you
honestly,
that choice, but it's making sure you know that you are changing what they believe the game should be. And I think
Absolutely.
that's how you do it.
That's
That
another good
is
example. Yeah.
grade
yeah,
A.
Mm-hmm.
that is
Just
really good.
sticking to what you know is your product, what their vision is, and not denying people the way of playing your game that way, but
Mhm.
informing them of how you believe your game should be played.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Um.
I feel like
Mhm.
games like Super Smash Brothers and like, because it has like a lot of different ways you can play the game. There's items, there's single player stuff, there's competitive,
Mhm.
and like there's never a clear line on how the game should be played. But the community, the fan base, really likes to stick on one side or the other.
Or the other. Yeah. And coming back to that, to our original topic anyway, because I feel like we've gotten slightly off topic as
Yeah,
far
we,
as
we
whether or
could
not.
close
All
it
right,
off.
right.
Yeah.
We could
Well,
we
we haven't really
haven't
gone into
actually,
it too
yeah.
much. But as a matter of, should games be
Oh,
judged
yeah,
by
we
the
kinda
quality of their fandom? Obviously no, but it
No.
can be really, really hard to. And like I said, usually your first impressions of media is through fans and their behavior and things like that, and it can really it really does affect one's willingness to actually play the game.
Persona
I
5.
Yeah, I don't consider myself a part of any fandom, honestly, because I believe that all fandoms are inherently bad.
You
I
can
want
be a
to
fan, but not be part of the
Yeah,
fandom.
you can
Yeah.
absolutely be that way.
be part of the fandom. I think I need to be on like the subreddits, the websites, the forums, on
Yeah,
Twitter,
subreddits.
interacting with people,
And
Yeah.
constantly
and I don't do
contributing
that.
content.
Exactly.
Or at least lurking. I don't even do that.
Yeah.
It's really easy to generalize, and that's what almost everyone does by default. We just generalize and associate something with the people that we enjoy it. And I can totally understand not wanting to experience something because it reminds us of those people who do those shitty or cringe things. Like, I'm probably never going to give The Last of Us or Horizon Zero Dawn an honest shot, even if they do come to PC. And I know Horizon Zero Dawn has come to PC, but like, I'm honestly never going to give those an honest shot, probably because of how awful Sony fans act. And I can tell
Honestly,
you this. I can tell you this. If I had not grown up with Nintendo games, I would fucking hate Nintendo so much because of how awful, genuinely fucking awful.
They're
fans
terrible.
act. They are absolutely.
Why are their games so good?
Yeah,
No.
the fans are just so utterly reprehensible. Like, as of recording this, Chadwick Boseman literally died.
Tweet. Oh my
the other
goodness,
day.
Yeah.
that made me
And
angry.
we have
Rip.
Doug Bowser sent out a tweet sending out his condolences, and
I
the
hate this.
replies are just nothing but moronic
Mothercery.
Nintendo fans
Man,
asking
I
for
feel
the
really
next
terrible.
Direct or Mother
You know
3.
what would make me feel
It's
better?
Awful.
A new direct.
It's so awful. I
Makes me
genuinely never would have been a Nintendo fan probably if I had not grown up with their games in the first place. But
I would probably.
Mhm.
What's the word? I would probably not be a part of Nintendo fans at all if I wasn't with you in the server.
exactly.
This is
Yeah.
the most contact I have with gamers.
And I'm proud
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
fortunate enough to get into Undertale before that got huge.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What a masterpiece of a game, by the way. Just the sand lovers, a different breed.
No, I thought the game was pretty good. I think it's definitely overhyped, but it's a very unique experience, and I
Yeah.
see why people enjoy it to the extent that they do. It's not my favorite anything ever, but it's still a decent game. But I see a lot of people not giving it a chance because, especially in 2015, Undertale fans were so
And-
obnoxious.
Yeah.
I
Jude,
remember.
Do you have any points?
Yeah.
we-
Yeah.
You got anything you
I have 2 points that are related to Nintendo and Undertale.
Mhm.
And for one thing, I wanted to bring up the whole Splatoon thing. I
Oh.
won't name names because it's very controversial things. But like the whole thing where Nintendo, like Splatoon fans that are associated with 2 very awful things. But I personally don't let those 2 things get to me at all. But on the opposite end of that, there's Undertale, where I am physically unable to see Sans as a character anymore.
Yeah.
He is just a fucking joke to me because of the fandom, the internet, and everything. He's
Yeah.
no
Hey,
longer a
uh,
character.
Post-production, add a blue eye to Jude's profile picture
That's a good
and
idea.
play Megalovania.
That's a good idea.
Fear.
Brief tune.
Fear.
Fear and suffering.
Like, man, it's crazy how like a group of people can just make one thing a joke. Like Sans
Oh,
is
yeah.
like Sans was just a side character, yeah?
Yeah.
And then now he's like the face of Undertale.
Yeah,
and it's
he
insane.
was honestly he was a side character. He was a very interesting side character because he's
With
mysterious.
a twist, yeah.
And he's got
Yeah,
a huge
yeah, yeah.
twist. But I don't really think he was ever really expected to become the face of the franchise, but he is now.
An interesting example of this, or something related to this, in the original Portal game. You know what the devs of Portal, thought would blow up and be the face of the Portal stuff?
What?
Hoopy.
Who?
What?
A literal hoop that kept
Why?
that would like show up in like little like crevices and points of the game and shows up at the end of the game like rolling in front of you. Like
Why
a
the
little
hell
like
would-
little
I
hoop.
have never played Portal, so
You know,
I play-
I'm glad that didn't happen.
I played it. I don't remember that at
and
all.
they didn't expect the turrets to be the one thing that people like identify Portal with.
It
As,
honestly,
like, the little unofficial mascot.
I
of
thought it
course,
would have been like the companion cube.
Of course they are with their-
the companion cube. They didn't expect the companion cube to be as big as it was. They thought Hoopy would be the thing, and obviously
Nah.
didn't come to be.
and the cake.
In the cake, the
Oh,
cake's
yeah,
not-
the cake.
I still hate that. I still
Oh
hate
my
that. Like
God.
same.
You weren't around
It's
when
been ruined.
when it was initially like
Yeah.
blowing up.
I'm glad I wasn't.
You don't understand walking through the halls of your school and hearing a bunch of fucking dorks yell the cake is a lie every 5 seconds.
Gamers.
Oh,
Gamers,
God.
alright.
Is there any way that I can find the gamers in this room? This cake is
No,
so
this part is
moist and
lame.
delicious.
How to spot a gamer? The image
All right,
posted.
we're getting off. We're getting off topic.
Yeah. So
Topic.
does anyone have anything we want to like close this topic off on? Any closing thoughts?
Rick and Morty. I just want to mention it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's another good
Yeah,
example. but
that's a very good one. Not a fan.
It's still not video games, but yeah. You judging a game's quality by its fandom, no. You really should not do that. However, it is very understandable if you don't want to play the game because of the impressions given to you by the fans.
As long as you're honest and admit that the reason you don't like it, the reason you want to try it, is the fandom,
Yeah.
and don't attach it to the game or to the developers,
Exactly.
I think it's fine.
Exactly.
Don't be a dummy.
Don't be a dummy.
Don't be
Good
dumb.
stuff. All right.
The last topic for today is we're going to be talking about games as a service, as well as tying content to other businesses as advertisements. This is specifically in reference to the new Avengers game, which is what prompted this topic.
Ugh.
Before we talk about it, I just want to give a quick definition, just so that everyone's on the same page here and they have an understanding of specifically what games as a service is. So, according to Dr. Wikipedia, games as a service are ways to monetize games after either their initial sale or to support a free-to-play model. Games released under the games as a service model typically receive a long or indefinite stream of monetized new content over time to encourage players to continue paying to support the game. This often leads to games that work under a games as a service model to be called living games or live games, since they continually change with these updates. So that's basically what games as a service is. It's usually
You mean like
Battle
Xbox
Royales.
Game Pass?
Yeah,
now-
stuff with battle passes and stuff like that. Fortnite's obviously the biggest example. Fall Guys is another
Warzone,
example.
yeah.
Warzone. This is mostly reserved for multiplayer games. However, the Avengers is the first time, at least as far as I know, that this business model has been applied to a single player game. So that in of its own is a bit of a it's just worrying, honestly.
These are the few times I am proud of Nintendo.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll go ahead and talk about this now. If this does become widely adopted across like all games, how would you feel about that? Would you keep playing new games? And basically, what's everyone's thoughts and feelings on it?
It comes back to the thing before with the fandoms that if it makes sense in the context of the game and in line with the original vision of making a quality game, then I don't have an issue with it. Like maybe like for instance, good example, Pikmin.
Oh
You'll
yeah.
go through the game and sometimes you'll find Duracell batteries on the ground, which makes sense contextually in the game because the idea of the Pikmin world is that it's a post-apocalyptic Earth.
That
Well,
reminds me of
they weren't literally Duracell batteries, were they?
I think they were literally Duracell batteries.
Like,
No, I'm
did
pretty
they-
sure they were.
Did they like display the name Duracell, or did they
Duracell.
just
Duracell batteries.
They were called that.
I can look it up.
Yeah.
Okay, because I heard about that, but my understanding was that like they were based more so on real life brands and stuff, but not.
No, they were Duracells.
Actually reference it. Okay.
Yeah. Cause stuff like that it's not in your face. It makes sense in the context of the game.
Yeah.
I have not played Death Stranding. I know they have Monster in it. So I don't know the context of that product placement, so I'm not going to comment on it.
It's kind of stupid, honestly.
All right. So one game that does put it in your face a lot is Super Monkey Ball.
Oh, really?
Because they have the bananas. You know, Dole,
Oh,
right?
the Dole
Yeah,
bananas.
they push that in your face. It's like on blimps. It's on giant ass bananas. It's like insane. Like,
Yeah.
God, the game really makes you want to eat a banana
yep,
from
that
Dole.
is literally Duracell.
Yeah, because and it's interesting. So, because games as advertisements have been around almost as long as video games have. Like,
Oh, yeah.
movie tie-ins, freaking Cool Spot, for 7-Up,
Yeah.
Pepsi Man.
Pepsi Man.
Doing that is
Man.
nothing new.
Say
That
again?
stuff is nothing new when it comes to games, but it's more so the issue of dividing up the game's content and making it exclusive to retailers or distributors of other goods.
I
and
hate
Oh, are we
services.
talking about that specifically, or are we just
that's what
talking?
I meant. Yeah, that's what the topic was supposed to be about specifically. Like, for example,
Okay.
certain people who use certain phone retailers either get the whole game or certain content for Avengers for free.
Wait, you can get the whole game for free if you have a certain phone provider?
It's either the entire game or it's content of the game. Let me double check this real quick.
What the heck?
Marvel's Avengers phone provider.
I really don't like. You need a specific thing to get a specific skin in like a game
Marvel's
or something.
Avengers has exclusive content locked to specific phone providers.
Fortnite also does that
Mm-hmm.
for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I can't name of any other things, but yeah, I'm not a fan.
That's the more so what I wanted to concentrate on. It's less about product placement in games, but more so about content and stuff being used as like ways to get you to participate with other businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of content in a game being restricted to you by stuff outside of the game itself.
Yeah.
Like
This, I'll let you finish.
All right. That sounds scummy to me. I feel like if you as long as the stuff is like a part of the game that you can, if you have no relation to said sponsorship or frickin' Verizon, you could get those skins. But like if it's literally if content in the game is literally locked out from you by things out of the game itself, I don't like that, because that not only does it it strangles the game's life outside of support.
Does.
Because like all those, it's like those online multiplayer like Battleborn. That's the stuff where like once like the game is, I don't know if this is totally off topic, but the game where the game is, it only exists as long as it's being supported.
Yeah.
I know that's not going to be entirely the case for this, but the idea that there's content that.
Well, that's the thing, though. Because of the whole live games and games as a service model, where the game is constantly being updated, like the Avengers requires an internet connection in order to play it, and this is a single-player game. This is the biggest thing here. Like, it has this Fortnite-like business model. It's constantly like trying to nickel and dime you for additional content, and this is not just like your regular downloadable content or anything like that. Like, this is a continuous stream of content that you will end up having to pay for. And
you still have to pay the game for full price? And you still have
to pay for the single-player game for full price.
Oh my god.
It's only acceptable for free multiplayer games.
Yeah, I feel like for free
like
games
MMOs
that have to get their money from other sources, it's at least understandable, because like you can't expect a free-to-play game to not have, or to have like monetization from in-app purchases and stuff like that.
Let's be realistic.
You got to make money somehow, and if you're not making money from people buying the game, then
it's just that some publishers want to not just make money; they want to make all of the money.
Make all the money.
Star Wars Battlefront 2 and their terrible loot box system for a $60 game.
I've heard it was kind of fixed.
That game has actually gotten apparently good now.
I haven't played it. But...
Game itself is good. Problem is that unlike Overwatch, where you get like cosmetics, in the loot boxes you get like actual game upgrades. So like the more stuff you get from the loot boxes, you can literally make your weapons and items and ordinances better.
I heard that was the case initially, but is that still the case now? Because I did hear that the game has gotten a lot better.
I am 85% sure. Okay. I do not know for certain if that is still the case. It's EA. I'm pretty sure it is, but it's true. I do not 100% know. I would have to check again.
All right.
I'm a bit older, so I've been following video games for a long time now. So I don't know. I definitely do not like this any of this games as a service prospect at all, especially for single player games. I've played Fall Guys, and I think that's the only game that I've played or have seen that I think handles the business model well. And again, that's a multiplayer game though. I don't think this business model should ever be applied to a single player game. If it does ever become widespread amongst AAA games, then I think that will finally be the point where I draw the line in the sand and I'll either go indie only or just say, fuck new video games, I'm going to just play old video games for here on out.
And Nintendo.
Yeah, basically. I mean, who's to say Nintendo won't adopt it too?
They might. Well, they're already stingy in their own way, so they might not.
They take... Honestly,
they're always $60, almost never go lower.
Yeah.
Unless it's Nintendo Select.
Nintendo has a lot of old values that sometimes are good, on contrast to what's happening now. Sometimes are not good. Case in point, their online stuff, but also, case in point, the quality of their games and how that stuff's made. So that's
the thing. Like, they are so behind the times that by the time like Sony and Microsoft were actually implementing downloadable content into their games, Nintendo didn't start putting in DLC until like, I want to say with Mario Kart 8 in 2015.
Probably.
So they're not completely out of the ballpark here. Who knows? If this does end up becoming a widely successful business model, if it does end up becoming the norm for AAA games, I would not be surprised if Nintendo adopted it. They probably just would do it for like another 10 years or so.
They used to have...
Yeah,
they used to have free online, but now they're charging for it. Exactly. Even though it's a third of the price of the other ones, it's still charging.
It's still charging for it.
And
this
the only
is years
reason
after the fact that Sony and Microsoft were doing that.
the only reason we are fine with it now is because everyone is doing it, which shouldn't be the case, but
we're not fine with it.
I'm not necessarily
there's
fine
there's
with
not
it,
like
but
there's
I have
another
no
option.
choice if I want to play
everyone
online. So
everyone has accepted that they charge for online.
yeah.
Yeah.
An example of this is with Super Mario Run, their first mobile game that they actually that they really made, and it was made very directly and intently with the idea that this is not going to be a predatory mobile game within a bunch of in-app purchases. Literally, so you can download the game for free. You can play through the first world, which is a set of 3 levels completely, and the rest of the world is locked on, but you have to buy the rest of the game. It's a one purchase, $10, and that's that. And the game flopped. It was not a success. No one bought it. In fact, people were mad that they had to buy the rest of the game. They got tons of flack for it.
Yeah, and it's because everyone's just been conditioned to accept that business model as the norm.
And now they put out stuff, like the Fire Emblem mobile game, the Fire Emblem Gacha, Mario Kart Tour. Because I mean, they tried.
They did,
but no one accepted it.
And I remember, years ago when Nintendo's were very adamant about saying that they would not enter the mobile game market.
Yeah.
And
Lol.
Yeah.
And
honestly,
at that point, frick them. Like,
yeah.
they can nickel and dime those mobile players for. I mean, at that point, they deserve it. Like, I mean, if
sure.
But mobile's great to make fun of, but it's fine.
I think it
It can be fine.
I disagree. I think that I know for a fact that developers are trying to emulate the success of mobile games' shitty business practices, and that's part of the reason why games as a service is being implemented. So
true, but
I think they have an adverse reaction on the rest of the market as a whole.
I guess, but just like in their own universe, there's nothing wrong with monetizing a free game.
In their own universe,
nothing wrong with monetizing.
The issue is that it's not staying in its own universe. It's affecting everything else too. If it
not
was just
much,
in its own universe, it'd be fine. But
we can't get rid of mobile games. We have to just limit their influence, I guess.
And we shouldn't. I mean, for a lot of people, that's the access they have to games. Everyone has a phone. Not everyone has a PC or a games console. So like,
sadly,
and there are good games on the mobile app stores.
And I believe there are.
You should. I mean,
it has emulators too.
As a medium, it's not bad. It's just that because of its medium, predatory practices like gotcha in-app purchases, psychological conditioned games to get every penny out of you. Like, that's just a product of
the market.
Yeah,
and that's all good and well. But like I said, if it's if it's affecting other markets as well, that is kind of where I'm drawing the line in the sand. And if shit like the Avengers becomes the norm for the industry, like I said, that's the point where I'm basically just done buying new games in general, and I'm just gonna go either indie only, or I'm just gonna stick to playing old video games.
Or full-on pirate.
Even you can't. That's the thing, though, because the live content is constantly being distributed and stuff, and you need an internet connection in order to play this. You can't pirate it. And
another example is Battleborn. That game was entirely like their own server side. Like, you cannot play that game. The game is actually gone.
Yeah, it's gone
you
forever.
Can't run a server and join that server. Like, it's because of how it was made. It's like it's gone. The game you will never be able to play Battleborn ever again.
That's another reason why I don't like this model. The lasting power of games is going to go away if it does become the norm as well.
Yes.
I think it's detrimental to the industry as a whole in the long run, just for a quick buck.
It absolutely is.
I wonder how it's gonna evolve now.
It's a scary thought, honestly. I really hope that Avengers does crash and burn and flop because
At least
It totally is.
At least we'll always
Yeah.
have the old stuff to play.
There's a lot of old games.
there are a lot of old games. This
And
is very
in
true.
theory, we could play the ones from this generation as well.
And
Yeah.
there's always
Many
indie
of
games.
them.
Always
And
I mean,
the
there-
indie game market also deserves as much support as it could possibly get.
I think
Hope.
we'll always be getting good
Indies are
games.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
There'll always be passionate, independent developers wanting to put their vision out there and make a good game without worrying about pleasing shareholders or trying to make a good turnover for the year. They just want to make good games. And
Exactly.
I honestly kind of feel that of indie media, video games are some of the most well-received, successful. I may not know much about movies, but
Movies rarely reach the
are
levels
much
of
more.
success of
They're much
their-
more eclipsed by the big stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, indie films and stuff you only are exposed to that stuff if you are a film buff. Like
Mhm.
if you are really into films, but
Some weird dude who likes Swedish films,
yeah,
experimental films.
Mhm.
and I mean now you've got independent games being put up on the same platform and same visibility as AAA games. So, which is great.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about stuff like Steam, GOG, and not Epic.
Not Epic.
Not Epic, no. But I mean,
Not
Not
Epic.
Epic.
Not epic.
yeah,
Not
like
Epic.
look at Among Us, for example. That game, no, I had never fucking heard of it until a couple of weeks ago.
2-year-old
And
game.
now, yeah, and it was 2 years old. Was 2 years old, and then as of a few weeks ago, it's blown up. And as of right now, I believe I saw an article on Twitter that said it's the 4th highest selling game on Steam right now. And
It
they
was
had
on the front
announced a
page.
sequel as well. It was on the front page.
I feel
once
as
the-
if
You
the
go.
Henry Stickmin collection, the same guys who made Among Us, like they added a lot of Among Us references into it,
Mm-hmm.
so that really sparked like, hey, what's this game they're referencing? And then everyone checked out what other games they made,
Yeah, that might
and
be
that's
a
how
part of
Among
it
Us
as
really
well.
sparked.
And that
Yeah.
it also doesn't hurt the fact that it's only $5.
Yeah, I feel like, and they like recently updated like getting all the maps for free and all that, so that really helps everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, there will always be the indie market to fall back on. I suppose if AAA really does get to that point where games as a service is this reprehensible and becomes the norm.
Happy about the Henry Stickmin collection, because the older games, the Flash games, they were really popular. YouTubers covered them a lot,
Yeah,
Hmm.
and now he's monetizing it. But people, they're fine with it, and it works. It's not unreasonably expensive. It's a fun game.
Yeah,
it is a very fun game. Really silly.
I'm interested in giving it a shot at some point because there's something very nostalgic about it. I have never heard of it until recently, but from what I
It's the
understand,
type of thing that you need to play for yourself. Do not watch YouTubers play it unless you
Right.
want to see a reaction after you play it first.
right.
Yeah,
The first
seems
few
very
games-
it's very
nostalgic.
funny to go in
It
blind.
reminds me of like 2009, 2010 era internet.
and yeah, like it goes on like It was a Newgrounds game. Like,
of course,
yeah,
of course. Hmm. So yeah, I
Yeah.
do want to give it a shot purely for the sake of nostalgia.
It may be good for a stream. Yeah.
your reaction would be pretty good.
Stickman games are a good time.
Yeah, I'll think about
They
it.
have a lot of references.
I'll definitely give that a
Like
a
it's just
consideration.
fun.
Mhm.
It's a fun feeling playing the game.
It's so charming.
Yes, very much so.
I believe it. I believe it.
But yeah, I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jude,
Absolutely.
anything too.
Anything to add, you?
Anything at all?
Nah.
All right.
Nah.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in this week. Hope to see you next time. And yeah, well, take care, everybody.
Catch
Everybody
y'all
say
later.
Mashallah.
goodbyes.
Goodbye.
See y'all.
Bye bye boy.